In this video, I'm going to demonstrate another feature of our effect size calculator within Excel. The particular feature I'm going to be showing today is how to calculate a continuous variable from an ordinal variable. So in some cases, studies are going to report a variable as an ordinal variable as a number of different rankable categories based on a certain value, as opposed to just giving you something like a mean standard deviation, something that's a continuous variable. So to show you what I'm talking about here, we're going to use this study, which you can download via the link in the description. This is a study that gave a brief condom demonstration on use and also gave 4 free condoms at baseline, and they had a number of follow-up points. So this is, for our purposes, a design 3 study where they're looking pre-test and post-test and follow-up for one group only. There is no control group. So you can see, looking here, baseline 1 month and 10 month surveys are being used in each category. Time point is right here, baseline 1 month and 10 month. So the ordinal variable we're going to be looking at is total times used for the female condom. This number is not giving us as a percentage or a continuous variable such as a mean and standard deviation. Instead, they're using an ordinal categorization where there's actually 4 levels of use for the female condom, either never, once, 2 to 10 times, or over 10 times. So you can give an arbitrary value to each of these so in order to rank them. So obviously over 10 times would be the highest rank of most usage, and never would be the lowest rankage of never even using them at all. So this is going to give you an example of an ordinal variable that you're going to want to convert to a continuous variable, and our purpose, mean standard deviation, to be converted to an effect size. So we're going to want to convert this to a mean standard deviation that's going to represent total times the female condom is used, and it's going to take into account all these different categories and just make one composite variable, continuous variable. So we're going to highlight this tab. So we're going to have the calculator tab we're going to be using, as we typically use, and this effect size calculations tab if you haven't created it. You're just going to create a new tab, and you're going to copy these first 4 rows from the calculator tab into here. So these are the calculators that you're going to use to calculate a continuous variable from ordinal variable. So depending on how many categories, ordinal categories, your measure is broken up into is how you're going to pick the calculator. So you can see kind of an example here: always, sometimes, never. If a measure is broken up like that, that's considered 3 categories. Always, sometimes, rarely, never would be 4. So just depending on how many categories your measure is broken up into will decide which of these calculators you're going to pick. So looking at our measure here, we're looking at the total times the female condom was used. Never, once, 2 to 10 times, and over 10 times. So that's giving us 4 ordinal categories that we're going to be using. So you can see here, case 2, 4 categories, which is what we'll be using. And we're going to leave those calculators up there, and what we're going to do is we're going to highlight a row here and outline it, and we're going to label it based on the study. So now we're looking here, and there's the baseline, the 1 month, and the 10 month. So that's 3 time points. So each set of 4 of these categories is going to be a different calculator. We're going to use one calculator for baseline, one calculator for 1 month, and one calculator for 10 month. So we're going to copy and paste under here 3 calculators. Space them out however you'd like or wherever you want to put them. We're going to label these by the time point. So this is going to be the baseline calculator right here to correspond with the baseline data here. This is going to be the 1 month follow-up to correspond with this column right here for the 1 month data. And this is going to be for the 10 month. So looking here, there's already values put in here just to give an example in the original templates of the calculator. We're going to actually want to enter the categories here that are listed in our current study. So we're going to take out the ones listed here. So how you want to rank these is going to depend on how you want the effect size to output. For our purposes, we're probably going to want to put the highest value on the most amount of female condom use and the least value on never using condoms. So we're going to list these out. Never, once, and we're going to label this by our measure. Now this is the part that's important right here, the cells I've just highlighted. You're going to want to assign the ordinal value to each category that you're going to want to correspond with that particular category. So like I said, we're going to want this over 10 times of use to be our highest value and the never to be the least, and everything else in between will go in that order. So right now it's numbered the opposite. Nevers are highest value and over 10 is our lowest, so we're going to want to switch that. So as you can see, as we go down, never is assigned to 1, once is assigned to 2, 2 to 10 is assigned to 3, and over 10 is assigned to 4. And that's just showing that when the means and standard deviations are calculated here, a higher number is going to indicate more condom use, and a lower number is going to indicate less condom use. So now you want to format these tables over here for the 1 month and the 10 month the same way we just did these for the baseline. So we can copy this in here to match the categories. We're going to want to change the values to match the way we've labeled the values on each category from low to high usage. And we're going to want to label the measure on each as well. So as you can see, all these tables are identical now, all 3 of these calculators, and they're numbering a value from low to high based on usage. So in order to calculate this mean standard deviation, we're going to have to enter the sample size, the number of people that chose each category that answered the question, that responded to the question on the survey. We'll actually expand this. So you can see here at the top of this table, they give the total sample size of the people that answered questions. So we're not going to actually put the percentages in here or the proportions. We're going to need to put the sample sizes in here. So since the number of people who chose each category is not numbered here, only the percentage, we're going to have to calculate the percentage who chose that category via the total sample size and the proportion given. So looking here in this baseline column and this never category, you can see it's 71.4% of people, of the 461 people at baseline, chose this category. So we're going to do 461 for the sample size times 0.714 to get approximately 329 people who chose never using it at the baseline. And we're going to do that for each value, so 461 times 0.085 to get the number for the once category for baseline. And finally, for the over 10 times, 461 times 0.059. And you can see here that this number matches the baseline number of participants that are answering the question. This is our n sample size. And here's the mean and standard deviation that was calculated. And we're going to transfer this over using these calculators after we finish entering all the data into the continuous from ordinal calculator. So clicking back on this screen, this baseline data has now been calculated. You can leave this one. And now we're going to calculate for the 1 month. So it's the same idea. You're going to use the 1 month sample size and multiply it by the percentage for each category. So 390 as a sample size times 0.223 as a percentage of people answering that question as yes. Same idea for once, 390 times 0.331, and so on and so forth. Finally, 390 times 0.069. And once again, this number is matching the sample size at 1 month. And this is a mean standard deviation that's been output. So looking quickly, you can see from baseline to 1 month, the mean actually increased. So we can already see that there's going to be a positive effect size once we calculate the effect size. So now we're going to do the 10-month table, and we're going to do this the same way. 243 times 0.198, which is the never category at 10 month. $243 times 0.235 for once. And looking here, the sample size matches, and the mean and standard deviation has been output here. So now we've created means and standard deviations at each time point for our ordinal variable. So now we can actually calculate an effect size using this information. So I'm going to maximize this screen. And like I said, this study is just one group pre-post. So if you remember from previous videos, we have 3 types of designs: 2 groups pre-post data, experimental control with pre and post data, design 2, which is 2 groups experimental and control with post-test data only, no pre-test data, and design 3, which is 1 group pre-post data, which is what we'll be using in this example. So looking over at our continuous from ordinal calculators, we have the baseline to 1 month and the baseline to 10 month. So that's going to be 2 comparisons, pre to post for 1 group. So we identified design 3, and then we're going to take this means and standard deviations calculator. Now I'm going to copy them both into here since we're using 2 of them. So now we're going to start labeling these calculators. So the first thing we're going to do is, we've gone over it in other examples, is we're going to enter this up here, the manuscript ID and the reference. The manuscript ID, once again, is just an arbitrary identifier that we use to categorize our studies. And then the reference is the author and the year, an abbreviated version of that, so we know which study we're referring to. And we're going to copy and paste that for both measures, obviously, since this is the same study. Subgroup, you don't necessarily have to label this, once again, because it's just one group pre-post, but you can choose to do it if you'd like. We'll put, in this example, we'll put it in there, we'll put intervention only. Now going to the table once again, go back to our measures. See, there's baseline to 1 month and baseline to 10 month. So weeks and follow-up, the follow-up is going to be the number of delayed follow-up it is. So the first one we're going to do is the 1 month, which is equivalent to 4 weeks. And then the 10 month, which multiplied by 4 is going to be equivalent to 40 weeks. The measure, total times used female condom. I'm going to actually type out FC as female condom so we know in the future what we're referring to when we say FC. Outcome, once again, this is going to be something we're going to look at in the future. We don't need to categorize it right now until you know exactly what you're using your database for and what you're analyzing. You're not controlling for any covariables in this case because you're just using the means and standard deviations that we've calculated. So those are going to stay blank as well. Here we're going to put where we got the information from in the study. So we're going to put page 29, table 1. And since we use the continuous from Ordinal calculator, I would actually put that in parentheses here so you know in the future where you got the data from or how you calculated it. And I'm going to align so you can read that. And you can copy and paste that since that's how you're doing both follow-ups, both measures. So just in reference to the format of this Excel file again, these 6 cells are the experimental data and these 6 are the control. Since there's no control in this group, obviously these are not highlighted yellow and you won't be entering anything. So these are just going to include the means and standard deviations pre-post for the experimental, pre here, post here. And there's going to be no effect size info here because no control, and none here because there's no control. So you're only going to have a pre-post effect size and data to go along with it here. For the experimental group, only pre to post. So since we use these as our reference for sample size, the 461, the 390, and the 243, we can enter that data accordingly. The NF pretest is going to be the same for both the 4-week and the 40-week follow-up. So we're going to put in 461 for N for our pretest experimental. This row and this calculator is for the first follow-up, the 4-week, the 1 month. So we're going to take that sample size from here, the 390, and then the 243 for this row, which is the 10-month or the 40-week follow-up. And now we have left is the means and standard deviations that we have to put in. So this is where you're going to take your data from here, from the continuous to ordinal, continuous from ordinal. So we're going to start here at the pretest data. Here you have the baseline mean and standard deviation that we've created and calculated. You're going to copy that mean. You're going to go here and you're going to right click and you're going to paste as a value. If you don't paste as a value, if you just hit paste or control V, it's going to paste as a formula and it's not going to paste the number you've outputted. So then we've done the mean, now we're going to do the standard deviation as well. And it's going to be the same pre-test for both the 4-week and the 40-week, or the 1 month and 10 month, so you can copy and paste that data to the cells below. And now here we are at the 4-week row, identified right here, and we're going to go back over to this tab. This is our 1 month continuous from Ordinal calculator. We're going to copy this mean, paste as a value. We're going to copy the standard deviation and paste as a value. And then this is our 40-week or 10-month row. We're going to want the mean post-test for that at 10 month. So we're going to scroll right here, copy this mean, paste as a value, and same with the standard deviation that goes along with it. Then if we look at the screen, we can see that there's a positive effect size. So in this case, the intervention group actually increased at both the 4-week and the 40-week in the amount of condom use, as denoted by our means and standard deviations we've converted to using the ordinal to continuous calculator. And you can actually see that this number is larger at the 40-week, at the 10-month, so that means that there's actually a larger change from baseline to 10-month than there was from baseline to 4-week or 1 month. So that's actually showing some sustained results over time, so that's good. So this is how we're going to use the calculator, the continuous from ordinal calculator, and how we're going to translate to an effect size. And this is an example for design 3. You can also use this calculator for design 1 or design 2.